Okay, folks. So I want to read some of this book titled Propaganda by Edward L. Bernays from 1928. If not all of it, it's only like 130 some pages. There's not a whole lot to it, but there is a whole lot to it. A lot of valuable information, I think, anyway, that I want to share with everyone in light of all of this propaganda and everything that we are being subjected to, every day, all day, and all night. But first, I'll point out there are these ebooks available through www.gutenberg.org, and they have a lot of different titles. They have a really good selection. It's all completely free. All you have to do is just download it and open it up on your computer or your phone, and you can donate to them, of course, but it's all free. So just so that y'all know, this is where I got this from, where I'm reading this digital copy. I got a hard copy the other day just to have on hand. But anyway, there's just so much propaganda, and I'll probably do a little bit of reading from Crystallizing Public Opinion as well. That one's from 1923, which is very interesting. Um, there's just so much propaganda out there on the social media platforms and everything, and that people are being exposed to, and even billboard signs, influence our opinions and our viewpoints and everything too. But it's just so thick nowadays. And it's really sad because there are a lot of people that are just losing their ability to logically discern information, and they're saying and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And in my opinion, my viewpoint, and there's probably some people out there that'll disagree with this, but we can't necessarily blame the social media platforms and the news agents and even the government, for things that we say and do that we shouldn't say and do, because ultimately at the bottom line, that responsibility is on us. We have that responsibility to make sure that we are saying and doing things that are, within the limits, of course. I'm not all for censorship of words like cuss words and stuff like that. I don't think that should be happening. I do believe in absolute free speech. Every word is protected speech, in my opinion. But, even parents who have children, it's on you to make sure that your children aren't being influenced and manipulated into saying and doing things that they shouldn't be doing as human beings. That responsibility is on us. We really can't blame the social platforms. And I know there are people that will disagree with that. I just, most certainly should not be putting any trust into the news agencies and into certain areas. I mean, everyone's different. You have your own trusted sources, but I just think it's a personal responsibility thing as well. You know, and like I said before, because I'm repetitive, I'll say it again. There are so many people that are losing their ability to logically discern information and make rational decisions based on informed consent, so to speak. And I don't know. Anyway, if you're busy doing things, just turn the volume up. It'll be kind of like listening to an audiobook, because I'm just going to kind of read through this word for word. And we're going to start with chapter 1, Organizing Chaos. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed. Our minds are molded. Let's go back to that word governed. Just really quick, I just want to point out to y'all that uh, we call them governmental agencies. You realize that, right? Governmental agencies. And they just shortened it to government. But anyway, we are governed. Our minds are molded. Our tastes formed. Our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. And I'll tell you, there are some uh, groups and some certain people that just don't mesh, and we're finding that out here in the United States of America. I will say that. But anyway, our invisible governors are, in many cases, unaware of the identity of their fellow members in the inner cabinet. They govern us by their qualities of natural leadership, their ability to supply needed ideas, and by their key position in the social structure. Whatever attitude one chooses to take toward this condition, it remains a fact that in almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons. A trifling fraction of our 120 million. Yeah, 120 million back then, huh? I think it's a lot more now. Who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. It is not usually realized how necessary these invisible governors are to the orderly functioning of our group life. In theory, every citizen may vote for whom he pleases. Our Constitution does not envisage political parties as part of the mechanism of government, and its framers seem not to have pictured to themselves the existence in our national politics of anything like the modern political machine. Keep in mind, this was written back in 1928, okay? But the American voters soon found that without organization and direction, their individual votes cast, perhaps for dozens or hundreds of candidates, would produce nothing but confusion. Invisible government, in the shape of rudimentary political parties, arose almost overnight. Ever since then, we have agreed, for the sake of simplicity and practicality, that party machines should narrow down the field of choice to two candidates, or at most three or four, or the lesser of two evils nowadays. In theory, every citizen makes up his mind on public questions and matters of private conduct. In practice, if all men had to study for themselves the abstruse economic, political, and ethical data involved in every question, they would find it impossible to come to a conclusion about anything. We have voluntarily agreed to let an invisible government sift the data and high spot the outstanding issues so that our field of choice shall be narrowed to practical proportions. From our leaders and the media they use to reach the public, we accept the evidence and the demarcation of issues bearing upon public questions. From some ethical teacher, be it a minister, a favorite essayist, or a merely prevailing opinion, we accept a standardized code of social conduct to which we conform most of the time. In theory, everybody buys the best and cheapest commodities offered him on the market. In practice, if everyone went around pricing and chemically testing before purchasing the dozens of soaps or fabrics or brands of bread which are for sale, economic life would become hopelessly jammed. To avoid such confusion, society consents to have its choice narrowed to ideas and objects brought to its attention through propaganda of all kinds. There is consequently a vast and continuous effort going on to capture our minds in the interest of some policy or commodity or idea. It might be better to have, instead of propaganda and special pleading, committees of wise men who would choose our rulers, dictate our conduct, private and public, and decide upon the best types of clothing for us to wear and the best kinds of food for us to eat. But we have chosen the opposite method, that of open competition. We must find a way to make free competition function with reasonable smoothness. To achieve this, society has consented to permit free competition to be organized by leadership and propaganda. Some of the phenomena of this process are criticized: the manipulation of news, the inflation of personality, and the general ballyhoo by which politicians and commercial products and social ideas are brought to the consciousness of the masses. The instruments by which public opinion is organized and focused may be misused, but such organization and focusing are necessary to orderly life. As civilization has become more complex, and as the need for invisible government has been increasingly demonstrated, the technical means have been invented and developed by which opinion may be regimented. With the printing press and the newspaper, the railroad, the telephone, telegraph, radio, and airplanes, ideas can be spread rapidly and even instantaneously over the whole of America, and even more so true here almost 100 years later after this publication was published. Just saying. H.G. Wells senses the vast potentialities of these inventions when he writes in the New York Times, quote, modern means of communication, the power afforded by print, telephone, wireless, okay, again, Reminder, this was written back in 1928 because I think we had these technologies that we're using nowadays long ago, folks. I'm just saying. Anyway, the power afforded by print, telephone, wireless, and so forth of rapidly putting through directive strategic or technical conceptions to a great number of cooperating centers, of getting quick replies and effective discussion, have opened up a new world of political processes. Ideas and phrases can now be given an effectiveness greater than the effectiveness of any personality and stronger than any sectional interest. The common design can be documented and sustained against perversion and betrayal. It can be elaborated and developed steadily and widely without personal, local, and sectional misunderstanding. What Mr. Wells says of political processes is equally true of commercial and social processes and all manifestations of mass activity. The groupings and affiliations of society today are no longer subject to local and sectional limitations. When the Constitution was adopted, the unit of organization was the village community, which produced the greater part of its own necessary commodities and generated its group ideas and opinions by personal contact and discussion directly among its citizens. But today, because ideas can be instantaneously transmitted to any distance and to any number of people, this geographical integration has been supplemented by many other kinds of grouping, so that persons having the same ideas and interests may be associated and regimented for common action, even though they live thousands of miles apart. It is extremely difficult to realize how many and diverse are these cleavages in our society. They may be social, political, economic, racial, religious, or ethical, with hundreds of subdivisions of each. In the World Almanac, for example, the following groups are listed under the A's: the League to Abolish Capital Punishment, Association to Abolish War, American Institute of Accountants, Actors Equity Association, Actuarial Association of America, International Advertising Association, National Aeronautic Association, Albany Institute of History and Art, Amen Corder, American Academy in Rome, American Antiquarian Society, League for American Citizenship, American Federation of Labor, AMORC, Rosicrucian Order, Anderon Club, American Irish Historical Association, Anti Cigarette League, Anti Profanity League, Archaeological Association of America, National Archery Association, Aryan Singing Society, American Astronomical Association, Ayrshire Breeders Association, Aztec Club of 1847, and there are many more under the A section of this very limited list. The American Newspaper Annual and Directory for 1928 lists 22,128 periodical publications in America. I have selected at random the N's published in Chicago. They are Narod, Bohemian Daily Newspaper, Narod Polski, Polish Monthly, NARD, Pharmaceutical, National Corporation Reporter, National Culinary Progress for Hotel Chefs, National Dog Journal, National Drug Clerk, National Engineer, National Grocer, National Hotel Reporter, National Income Tax Magazine, National Jeweler, National Journal of Chiropractic, National Livestock Producer, National Miller, National Nut News, National Poultry, Butter and Egg Bulletin, National Provisioner for Meat Packers, National Real Estate Journal, National Retail Clothier, National Retail Lumber Dealer, National Safety News, National Spiritualist, National Underwriter, The Nation's Health, Now Genos. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Lithuanian Daily Newspaper, Newcomer, Republican Weekly for Italians, Daily News, The New World, Catholic Weekly, North American Banker, North American Veterinarian. The circulation of some of these publications is astonishing. The National Livestock Producer has a sworn circulation of 155,978. The National Engineer of 20,328. The New World, an estimated circulation of 67,000. The greater number of the periodicals listed, chosen at random from among 22,128, have a circulation in excess of 10,000. The diversity of these publications is evident at a glance, yet they can only faintly suggest the multitude of cleavages which exist in our society. and along which flow information and opinion carrying authority to the individual groups. Here are the conventions scheduled for Cleveland, Ohio, recorded in a single recent issue of World Convention Dates, a fraction of the 5,500 conventions and rallies scheduled. The Employing Photo Engravers Association of America, the Outdoor Writers Association, the Knights of St. John, the Walther League, the National Knitted Outerwear Association, the Knights of St. Joseph, the Royal Order of Sphinx, the Mortgage Bankers Association, the International Association of Public Employment Officials, the Kiwanis Clubs of Ohio, the American Photo Engravers Association, the Cleveland Auto Manufacturers Show, and the American Society of Heating and Ventilating Engineers. Other conventions to be held in 1928 were those of the Association of Limb Manufacturers Associations, the National Circus Fans Association of America, the American Naturopathic Association, the American Trap Shooting Association, the Texas Folklore Association, the Hotel Greeters, the Fox Breeders Association, the Insecticide and Disinfectant Association, the National Association of Egg Case and Egg Case Filler Manufacturers, the American Bottlers of Carbonated Beverages, and the National Pickle Packers Association, not to mention the Terrapin Derby, most of them with banquets and orations attached. If all these thousands of formal organizations and institutions could be listed, and no complete list has ever been made, they would still represent but a part of those existing less formally but leading vigorous lives. Ideas are sifted and opinions stereotyped in the neighborhood bridge club. Leaders assert their authority through community drives and amateur theatricals. Thousands of women may unconsciously belong to a sorority which follows the fashions set by a single society leader. Life satirically expresses this idea in the reply, which it represents an American as giving to the Britisher who praises this country for having no upper and lower classes or castes. Yeah, all we have is the 400, the white collar men, bootleggers, Wall Street barons, criminals, the DAR, the KKK, the colonial dames, the Masons, Kiwanis, and Rotarians, the KFC, Knights of Columbus, the Elks, the Censors, the Cognoscenti, the Morons, heroes like Lindy, the WCTU, politicians, Menconites, the Boo Boise, immigrants, broadcasters, and the rich and poor. Yet it must be remembered that these thousands of groups interlace. John Jones, besides being a Rotarian, is member of a church, of a fraternal order, of a political party, of a charitable organization, of a professional association, of a local chamber of commerce, of a league for or against prohibition, or of a society for or against lowering the tariff, and of a golf club. The opinions which he receives as a Rotarian, he will tend to disseminate in the other groups in which he may have influence. This invisible, intertwining structure of groupings and associations is a mechanism by which democracy has organized its group mind and simplified its mass thinking. To deplore the existence of such a mechanism is to ask for a society such as never was and never will be. To admit that it exists, but expect that it shall not be used, is unreasonable. Emma Ludwig represents Napoleon as ever on the watch for indications of public opinion, always listening to the voice of the people, a voice which defies calculation. Do you know, he said in those days, what amazes me more than all else? The impotence of force to organize anything. It is the purpose of this book to explain the structure of the mechanism which controls the public mind, and to tell how it is manipulated by the special pleader who seeks to create public acceptance for a particular idea or commodity. It will attempt at the same time to find the due place in the modern democratic scheme for this new propaganda and to suggest its gradually evolving code of ethics and practice.